were fortunate to have two great mentors, among others, in your life, Elvin Jones and Miles Davis. I want to talk a
Hmm.
little bit about that and your mentoring. But first, going back to Elvin, when you started playing with Elvin, you'd been around the scene for a while, but now you're with one of the real masters of the music. Did
Hmm.
Elvin talk to you about music? How did he help you grow, or was it just through playing?
That um, generation in general were not too verbal about music, from what I can understand. Not just who I knew, but in general, they just didn't talk. They either wouldn't, couldn't, or didn't. I can't tell you. Some were obviously a little more giving than others. Supposedly, Dizzy Gillespie was quite generous with time, and he would talk to you about music. But I can't tell you that Elvin really ever said anything specific about music. And Miles, a few things, but they were very unspecific. They were general. They were like little statements that you would go home and think about. I don't think he meant to be a Zen master, but of course, in his way, he was. And Elvin, it was really just osmosis. It was what you observed by being there and around him, watching him, obviously playing, which is beyond words, and stories, which would come up here and there. I mean, not too much. We just passed the time. I mean, he was very what's the word? He was very approachable. He was always in the dressing room. We were together. Wasn't separate. And same with Miles, but they didn't talk about music. I guess they I think that one thing was just real thing is that they were playing 40, 50 weeks a year for 20, 30 years by the time I'm seeing them in the 70s. I guess if you do something that much, you don't really have to say much. It's going to take care of itself. I think that was kind of what drove those guys and what made them not too verbal and not interested in verbalizing. Whereas my generation, as you well know, is the kind of first generation to what's the word? Explain things, verbalize concepts, and of course, turning into a massive teaching and international school situation that we now presently have, which is probably in jazz the most active thing that's actually happening and real deal. So we took it from there, and we are the next generation. And usually, it takes the next generation to explain things in art. The heavy guys, put it down. The next generation expounds on the details. Takes things that were just maybe, let's say, I'll say the word mentioned, but played lightly and makes them into studies. If Coltrane played one little thing, suddenly now we have a whole book about it, or books about it. I think that's the role of the next generation artistically, and we are that. We were that, my generation in the '60s. Now, of course, it goes on and on, but I can't tell you to answer again that I got any. It were too many specific things from either Elvin Jones or Miles Davis about music.